Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum viewers. This is your host Fahad and you're watching Awareness with Fahad. As you guys heard that Islamophobia is on the rise in Canada and you guys heard about recent event that took place at Musalla at Toronto Pearson Airport. So being a host and community activist, I have decided that it is my duty to bring you a complete awareness on how to handle scenarios like it. So I have invited an expert on my show who can guide us what to do when someone is being targeted based on his religion or race. So, guys, I have with me CEO of National Council of Canadian Muslim, Mustafa Farooq. Most of you already know him through social media and the news. He is currently working on the recent case which took place at Pearson Airport. So let me take him on the call. Mustafa, how are you today? So, Mustafa, to start with, can you please introduce yourself and why did you choose to become a lawyer? And when did you join NCCM? And how you got the idea of NCCM?
Sure. So my name is Mustafa Farooq, and I'm a lawyer by training. I decided to become a lawyer because when my grandparents came and my parents came from Pakistan to Canada, my grandfather told me that it was important that we had been given so many ni'mah, we've been given so many privileges by coming to this land, that it was important that we give back. And his original, I think, intention was the idea that maybe I would go back someday to Pakistan to help. And it ended with him very strongly pushing me towards the direction of law school to stand up for the rights of others.
Awesome.
That's what led me to becoming a lawyer.
So, which school did you go to become a lawyer?
My first year of law school was at Osgoode Hall Law School. Transferred to the University of Alberta after I got married to finish my JD. And then I went and did my LLM, my Master's of Law at UC Berkeley.
Mashallah, mashallah. That's very, you have a very good profile, by the way.
Thank you.
And what about the NCCM? When did you join? How you got the idea of NCCM, basically?
Sure. So I was working at the Federal Court of Canada, and I was approached by the good folks at the National Council of Canadian Muslims, NCCM. These were some big shoes to potentially fill. The previous executive director, Ehsan Gardi, had done a phenomenal job for many years in standing up for the rights of Canadian Muslims, and before him, Riyad Saluji. And so I was very honored. And it took me a long time to think about whether this was the right decision for me to make, because it's a big responsibility to think about doing. Alhamdulillah, I think we've done an okay job in expanding and doing more to help. But there's certainly many, many more areas in which to grow and which to do better.
So when this NCCM was formed, basically, in what year?
So NCCM has been around for just about 20 years.
Oh, mashallah.
It's been around for...
How many people do you think knows about NCCM? Like, mashallah, you guys are around for a long time now.
Yeah. So, I think that, obviously, I think more and more people are finding out about NCCM, and awareness has certainly increased over the last, 3-4 years. I would say that one of the major reasons that NCCM had, maybe you haven't heard of NCCM until today, and thank you so much for hosting us today on your show.
Sure.
But I think one of the reasons that maybe people didn't know about NCCM before was that during the Harper era, the Harper government and administration essentially accused NCCM of being involved with nefarious terrorist entities. And NCCM actually had to litigate to demonstrate its innocence of these claims, eventually securing an apology from the Prime Minister's office. But obviously that was the kind of thing that can, takes a lot of time and resources and really set your brand, people just knowing, being comfortable to engage in your organization.
Right.
Significantly back. But we're very happy now that with the support of our community, we've been able to do much more.
The next question, Mustafa, I was just going through your website and you talk about Canadian human rights and civil liberty, right? And Islamophobia, right? I just want to tell my viewers, if you can explain to them, what is this Canadian human right and civil liberty entails in it? Like, how you going to explain it to my viewer?
Sure. I mean, so it's pretty simple. Whether you're at your job, whether you're in a school, whether you're traveling through an airport, whether you're stopped by a police officer, every human being is entitled to certain rights. Aapka haq.
Right.
And our job is there to help you protect that. We don't charge folks for anything.
MashaAllah.
We are here entirely in a non-profit kind of capacity, there to serve those who suffer from any kind of Islamophobia. And Islamophobia is very simple. It's not anything complicated. It just means that when you are targeted, when you have to go through something that's bad because of the fact that you're Muslim. That's what
Islamophobia is all about.
That's what Islamophobia is about.
So what about how many things comes into the Canadian human rights? You have certain rights being, I think I heard 6 or 7 of them, right? So you wanna give them some sort of explain it for the viewers so they would understand.
Sure. So I mean, there's a lot of different rights you have. For example, you have the right, for example, to freedom of religion. You theoretically are allowed to have whatever religion you like. You have freedom of mobility. That means you're allowed to travel between provinces without restriction. You have freedom to say what you'd like to say, freedom of speech. These are sort of key rights that you have as a citizen, and these are rights that we fight very hard to defend. So, for example, one of the major battles that NCCM is engaged in right now is over the religious symbols ban in Quebec. You might have heard of it.
Yes, I have heard.
And what the religious symbols ban in Quebec does is it says that if you wear hijab, if you wear a turban, if you wear a kippah, you're not allowed to become a teacher, you're not allowed to become a prosecutor, you're not allowed to become a police officer. And we have been very heavily engaged in litigation in conjunction with our partners, the Canadian Civil Liberties Association, to try and strike this bill down.
MashaAllah. And I think this is also goes to the Bill 21, right? So it's
called Bill 21.
Okay, perfect. So my next question is, Mustafa, about are you serving only one community or any other religious background folks can also contact you guys for help? And how many locations you have for NCCM so my viewers would know, okay, if they are in Alberta, they can contact you there also.
Sure. So our main focus as an organization is there to serve who are affected by Islamophobia. But let's be clear, sometimes there are folks who are affected by Islamophobia who aren't Muslim. So for example, often the Sikh community face Islamophobia because people perceive them as Muslim. And so they sometimes face racism on that basis. We're there to defend anybody who goes through. But we're also there to stand in solidarity with anybody who goes through anything. Obviously, we are insan first. We're human beings.
That's right.
Care about, and our Islam guides us to care about those who are around us. Always stand in solidarity with anyone and everyone. Sorry, Fahad, for interrupting.
No, mashallah. This is very good cause. I mean, I would say so. You don't differentiate between any race or religion or anything. Anybody can come to you for help.
No, and we are non-sectarian, so that means we're not just serving Sunni folks. We anybody. If you we don't do an aqidah test here. If you go through Islamophobia, we're there to defend you.
Perfect.
And also, I mean, just in terms of our offices, we have an office here in Ottawa. I'm sitting in our Ottawa office right now, about 2 blocks away from Parliament Hill.
MashaAllah.
We have an office in Mississauga, in Eglinton. We have an office in Montreal, and we have an office that we're just setting up in Edmonton, Alberta.
That's good. That's good. Very good to know. Why do you think, Mustafa, that Islamophobia is on the rise in countries like Canada? Like when I moved over here 17 years back, I never heard about those things. Why there's a rise right now in cases?
I don't think we fully know the answer. I always like to say when I don't know the answer to something, I don't think we know the full set of answers. I mean, I think there are reasons that we can look at, but I don't know if they're fully satisfactory. So, for example, down south with Trump, maybe that's one of the reasons that has led to a rise in this kind of animus. But we, honestly, I don't think we fully know the answers at this point.
Okay. My next question is, I know that in US, because I lived in the US too, and there's an organization named CAIR, CAIR, right? So are you guys working for the same cause, or you guys work with them also? Do you have anything to say about that in terms of CARE? Like, are you
Yeah,
guys working
sure.
with them?
So we used to be called CareCan before we became the national.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay.
But right now we do, sometimes collaborate and work with CARE on issues of shared interest.
Mhm.
Think of most recently, there was a person who was traveling on Air Canada
Mhm.
to a tournament in the United States. This was pre-pandemic, of course,
Yep.
and a young girl wearing hijab, and she was searched at a secondary search when she was supposed to cross the gate. Um, uh, in front of everybody for no particular or apparent reason. And so
Mhm.
we coordinate at that time with CARE in the United States to stand up for the rights of this young woman who's now currently in litigation with Air Canada.
So I believe it was in the news too, right? I think I
It was in
saw
the
it.
news as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very good, mashallah. You guys are doing a great job. Now we're gonna move towards like, okay, if somebody face Islamic phobic comments, right? Either somebody's traveling or on the phone, through SMS or social media, what do you think that first reaction should be? Who is the victim, basically?
Sure. So I think that it really depends on the situation.
Okay.
If you're in a situation of life-threatening urgency,
Mm-hmm.
like, for example, Khudana Hasta, let's say if you're at a masjid or you hear something or somebody's attacking you,
Mm-hmm.
can try to call 911.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that I necessarily agree with everything that police officers do, but first steps first would be my recommendation would be to call 911. But also after that, please feel free to give us a call. You can go on our website, www.nccm.ca. You'll see a 1-800 number there. Give us a call. Our staff answer the phones 24/7 on a daily basis.
Okay.
Don't answer you right away. If you leave a message or if you send us an email, we will get back.
Okay. But what about if somebody's sending you a message over the SMS, Islamophobic comments? What should be the first reaction?
So again, I would just call us at NCCM and we'll help
Okay.
guide you what to do next.
And same for social media, I would
Same
say.
for social media, whatever the context is,
Okay.
because every time can just require so many different kinds of things, right? Like, for example, we have a very good relationship with Google Canada.
Okay.
Sometimes we can take down, we can work with Google Canada to take down content.
Okay.
Times content will be so aggressively bad that it might require police engagement. So it will require other forms of lobbying or change.
Right.
It really depends on what's happening. I think, for example, the most recent incident with the Pearson Airport.
Yeah.
Good demonstration of why it's hard to put a one-size approach to fix all problems.
Mm-hmm.
But if you give us a call, we will respond very quickly.
You will respond right away. Perfect. What about like if I'm traveling, right, and somebody is making a Islamophobic comment? Can I record the conversation through my cell phone? Can I do a video recording?
So generally, the answer, there are some states in the United States where that's not permitted, and there's some in certain airports, in certain parts of those airports, cell phone are not permitted.
Right.
Generally speaking, if you are going through something like that, it is not a bad idea to necessarily gather evidence.
Okay.
In recording, usually that is permitted.
Okay. And what about if the police guy showed up, and can he tell me or her that, okay, you stop your video right away, or can I still record?
Generally speaking, in Canada, there's pretty wide latitude when it comes to filming and recording police interactions.
Okay.
Most of the time, it is permissible to record police interactions. And most of the time, police officers do not have authority to tell you to stop filming.
So how we would know?
So I think generally the answer is you have authority to engage in recording.
Engage and you can record, right? Just to save the evidence, right? What happened with you?
Right. I mean, there are exceptions, but it's not really worth. If you can always talk to a lawyer in particular circumstances. Generally speaking, it is allowed to record police officers.
Okay. I know that Mustafa, recently there was an incident happened at the airport Musalla, right? At Toronto airport, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially watching, the footage and everything. What should be the first reaction, like being a Muslim? if something like that happen again, right? Should we call you guys first? Should we put on social media? I just want to know that what should be the sequence approach, right? What should be the best practice to handle incident like that?
So generally, we'd recommend reaching out to us first before posting up
Okay.
it, or calling, sending it to the news or anything like that. Just because sometimes we can help guide the best way of doing it.
Right.
And I mean, there's a numerous circumstances where I think most lawyers will tell you to give legal counsel a call, give some media experts a call before you start to post about it.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I mean, you're entirely within your rights if you want to post up about it. Like, we're not going to tell you not to.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, it's best practice to reach out to somebody and get some counseling before you go up and post anything.
So Mustafa, I think there's a time for a break. So we will take a quick break and then we'll be back. Guys, keep watching Awareness with Fahad.
एक छोटी सी तकरीब में शिरकत भी आपके प्यारों को कोविड-19 की जानलेवा बीमारी का शिकार बना सकती है। जब तक सबको वैक्सीन नहीं लग जाती, अपने घरों में रहें और जिंदगियां बचाएं।
Manjula.
Oh, Anushka. Thank God you remembered us after such a long time.
Your house is so elegant. You must have gone through a hard time to find this kind of place.
This didn't take much effort in finding, thanks to Riaz. Pupudu and I mentioned the things we really wanted, and according to that, Riaz found this house. And he also showed us the path to buy a new house while keeping our old house.
Oh, Manjula, can you give me the number of Riaz so I could contact him today itself?
A household name, Riaz Rauf, Rushdie Rauf.
Love that chicken from Popeyes. Love that chicken from Popeyes.
2020 का लाजवाब ऑफर, जहां हम 0% फाइनेंसिंग पर आपकी मनपसंद कार दे रहे हैं, फ्री विंटर टायर्स, और साथ ही हम मुफ्त ऑयल चेंज भी दे रहे हैं, वो भी उम्र भर के लिए। अभी आएं और इस लाजवाब ऑफर का लुत्फ लें। जल्दी करें, आपका खुशामदीद हमारे आउटलेट में, जो कि 60 क्वींस प्लेट ड्राइव एट इंटरसेक्शन क्लोज टू हाईवे 27 एंड रेक्सडेल अपोजिट टू वुडबाइन रेस ट्रैक। जल्द से जल्द इस ऑफर का लुत्फ लें। आज ही कॉल करें सुनील अग्रवाल को 647-703-0218।
Welcome back, guys. You're watching Awareness with Fahad, and we have our guest Mustafa Farooq with us. So, Mustafa, we were talking about the incident that happened at Airport Musalla, right? So, I mean, I really like your approach that we should call you first, and then you will be handling those things. How you're going to talk to media, or news, or whatever is the case is going to be, right? The next question, I was just wondering, because this thing came into my mind also. You guys, how do you guys run your organization? Like, I mean, you guys are providing like extraordinary service, right, for free, right? And mashallah, so how do you run your organization? Is it run based on donation? How does it work?
So it's run based almost entirely on donations. We sometimes will take government grants if they're not core to our operations. So in other words, my salary will never, for example, get paid out of government grants because, it's obviously would mean that it would make us difficult to advocate for government. But generally speaking, we, run almost entirely based off donations and support from the community. So if you want to see us do more, unfortunately, the only way for us to really do more is with donations.
Okay.
And I mean, obviously, I think right now we have a great team of lawyers, academics, folks who have experience in communications and journalism, political staffers. But I mean, I think I'm the first to admit that we could be doing much, much more. And unfortunately, the only way for us to do much, much more is with more and more of your support.
Mm-hmm. How many staff you have right now in your all three locations?
We have a few staffers in each location. So I mean, we have like 3 in Alberta. We have 5 in the GTA. We have 2 folks in Ottawa, one in Montreal. But we are certainly looking for more and more. So I mean, that if you really think about it, that number of folks to cover off the challenges facing us today is too small. But we certainly need more help, more support.
So if a lawyer they want to help you, like somebody is a lawyer, he's doing his job, but on a part-time basis, he wants to help you out, so he can, right? Of course, he can apply.
We need help from everybody.
Okay.
Let me give you a really palpable example.
Yeah, it would be great.
So in 2020, on September 12th, 2020, we had the killing of Muhammad Aslamzadeh at the IMO Mosque in Etobicoke. An individual whose name I will not say walked onto the premises, took out a knife, and slit the throat of our brother Muhammad Aslamzadeh. I'm sorry to.
It was pretty sad. Yeah.
Just the reality. May Allah put
Ameen.
Resurrect him amongst the shuhada.
Ameen.
That individual who perpetrated the attack has alleged connections to a white supremacist group called the O9A. The O9A is a white supremacist neo-Nazi organization that actually worships Hitler as Shaitan, as the devil.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's a very simplistic way of describing it, but that's generally a satanic cult.
Right.
Now, what we did is we coordinated with leading organizations in Canada, like the Canadian Labour Congress, like Amnesty International, and we worked and we pushed all parties in government to ban white supremacist groups. And alhamdulillah, as you probably saw earlier this year, so just 3 or 4 months after we started our push, we had, for the first time in Canadian history, some of the worst groups banned, like the Proud Boys, so often the sort of parent group of the O9A, and a number of others. This was a historic change, but it wasn't just accomplished because we pushed and met with politicians, and we met with the Prime Minister, and we met with Tool, and we met with Jagmeet Singh, and we met with other folks. That's not the reason that I was in, and numerous other MPs. The real reason, alhamdulillah, things were forward was because hundreds and hundreds of Canadian Muslims picked up the phone and made phone calls to their local politicians. We had one Jummah where, every masjid in Ottawa set up phone booths where as people were walking out, they were picking up the phone and making those phone calls. Every single person, just a little bit of time from your day, dollars of donations can make a tremendous difference to making everyone's lives better and safer.
No, mashallah, this is good, seriously. And my next question is also in terms of Islamophobia. Where do you see it in the upcoming years? Because like recently we see such a hike, right? Like in that, but what about in the upcoming years, maybe 5 to 10 years down the road, right? And what measure should we take to reduce the impact?
So I think that's the $1 million question. I wish I knew for sure. I can tell you right now, statistics tell us that 46% of Canadians have unfavorable attitudes towards Canadian Muslims. That number is far too high. That's a public health crisis.
Okay.
And we need to work very, very hard to make sure that we fight that. And that's part of what NCCM does. We have folks in schools. We have folks in, working in the private sector, in the public sector, in courts, in legislative assemblies, in media, and engaging diverse communities to stand up and to end this challenge. Because if we don't do it, no one's going to do it.
So do you have some sort of action plan, like a 1 or 2, 3, main action plan that you would recommend?
Yes.
Like, what's your expectation from the community, right? So they are listening, right? So what we can do?
Sure. So the first and the biggest thing that we need from all is not your money. It is your ideas, and we need your time.
Okay.
We need your time when you can step up, whether it's spending 10 minutes to make a phone call to your local representative, whether it's to take 30 seconds to send a letter, whether it's to take 2 hours to talk to your local friends, your family, about what you can do to stand with NCCM as we fight to protect you and your family and your friends and your children. All of that is critical and necessary. That is your number one thing that you can do. The second thing that you can do is you can start to educate yourself about what's going on. So I recommend strongly that if you're following us on social media, signing up to our email. So if you could just go on www.nccm.ca, you can sign up for our email updates and stay up to date with what's happening. Because if you're not informed about what's going on, you're not going to know how to fight it. And
No, I agree.
the thing is, for those who are members of the Muslim community, if you believe in this, keep us in your dua. We need your duas. We need your prayers. Honestly, I've seen times when we've gone up. I mean, just as a simple example, NCCM took on the Quebec government on Bill 62, which was a law that banned those who wore the niqab from accessing public services like riding a bus. And alhamdulillah, with very, very limited resources, we were able to defeat a government. And we were actually able to stay that legislation.
MashaAllah.
That is largely because, alhamdulillah, your du'as, your love, your support, it keeps us moving forward.
Really, seriously, this is amazing. And I would really urge all the viewers, whether you are Shia, Sunni, any sect, it doesn't matter which sect you belong to, my Sikh brothers, seriously help them so they can help you, basically. So, I mean, this is a very good cause. Really, I really appreciate all what you are doing for us, seriously. What about this always comes into my mind. What about the role of a provincial and federal government, right, to reduce the Islamophobia, especially I'm talking about the MP and MPP?
Oh, I think all government folks have an incredible responsibility to work with communities to make life safer for everybody, to make life better for Canadians. And that's why we work with them quite a bit in accomplishing our goals. Just this last, on Monday, we had a meeting with Minister Guilbeault, the Minister for Heritage, and Minister Blair, the Public Safety Minister. In part, one of the things we talked about in our meeting was around online hate. So obviously, we see a lot of Islamophobic materials online, a lot of lies spread about the members of the Muslim community. We're working with the government right now around new legislation to be brought in to dismantle Islamophobia online. And this is a major thing that we're working on. And there's so many other things that we're working on. We're working on a national program for victims of hate. We're working on methodologies to dismantle Bill 21, and so many more.
Mustafa, when you had a meeting with them, I'm in cybersecurity business for last 24 years now. I know, and I have worked with those technologies where you can take help from those advanced security, I would say, interception tools. So you can do a keyword stuff search, and then you can catch those bad guys. So did they talk about that to using those tools?
Yeah. So I mean, I could get into the specifics, but I can say that mandatory disclosure and mandatory self-flagging by the social media giants through using algorithms and machine learning is certainly
perfect
of the conversation. That's
good to know. So you guys are on track, mashallah. Very good, very good. I want to go on a scenario-based question also, Mustafa, because I know people can face it, any moment, any time. Suppose a police guy enter your home without search warrant. Can he search your home without search warrant? And what should you do if you get to face a scenario like that?
So there are a few exceptions when a police officer can enter your home without a warrant. I won't describe each of those circumstances.
Sure.
Generally, if a police officer did enter someone's home, generally speaking, warrantless searches of private domiciles are prohibited under the charter. What I would recommend for anybody that has any sort of engagement with law enforcement is consult a lawyer about your specific circumstance to get a sense of what can be done to remedy. I will say that warrantless searches, if found to breach the relevant charter sections, including Section 8 and 9, are generally thrown out by courts.
So can I call my lawyer? Suppose somebody has someone home, and then can I say, okay, you guys cannot come in, I'm going to talk to my lawyer. Can I say that?
It's always appropriate to ask for a warrant.
Okay.
To see a warrant. Obviously I wouldn't recommend, resisting a police officer who's, trying to do whatever XYZ they're trying to do. But speaking, you have the right to speak to a lawyer if you're ever in a situation where you're unfairly detained, arbitrarily detained, or detained at all. Or if there is a search that's trying to be effected on your property or on your person.
No, that's good to know, mashallah. What about the local media, like especially like our channel, and there are some other channels also in our community? What's your expectation? How they can help us to fight against Islamophobia?
Well, I think exactly the kinds of things that we're having a discussion about today is what local folks can do to help us out. Oftentimes, we might not, come and seek you out and ask you to do interviews, and not because we don't want to do the interviews. It's because we're so busy,
right,
that we might just not proactively reach out. Sometimes, for example, even like the National Post or Globe and Mail will reach out to us, and it'll take a little while to respond. Like usually, we always respond within the next, few hours, but like it can sometimes take us a little while to respond because of the number
of cases
of concerns we have to deal with on a basis.
Nice, that's good to know. What about the Canadian media like CBC and all those other channels? Are they playing their role? Are you satisfied with their role to reduce the Islamophobia? Are they, giving proper awareness?
So without speaking to any particular media channel, I will say that in general, while we at NCCM engage with media outlets a lot, and so if you just type in National Council of Canadian Muslims onto Google and you click news, you'll see we have many, many sorts of interviews and things like that we do on a sort of daily, weekly, monthly basis. Last year we did a few hundred interviews, in fact. But I think that if we're talking about the general question of whether media and mainstream media is fulfilling its responsibility, I would say no. Generally, our stories are not properly told, and there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of Islamophobia that's spread in our newspapers. I mean, if you just open the Toronto Sun and you turn to any article by Tariq Fatah, you'll get a really good sense for how problematic media narratives around Muslim communities are. If you listen to media in Quebec, if you open up the Journal de Montréal, or if you listen to talk radio in Quebec, you'll realize that we have a long, long way to go in terms of thinking about our community being fairly. I mean, no one's asking for special treatment. Just fairly representing the fact, very rare, is a long ways away.
No, that's good to know. Thank you so much for sharing this. What about like another role that like you want they can help you out with is our mosque, right? There's so many mosques, mashallah, around here in GTA and in overall Canada, right? What role do you expect from Imam of the mosque, or like what role they can play to help you guys out and reduce Islamophobia? So, I mean, we talk to and we work with a lot of masajid in the GTA and in Ottawa and in many other parts of Canada. I think the biggest role that masajids can play is the same that average people can play. Stand up for justice in whatever way that you can. Maybe that's, when NCCM sends out an action alert, you follow the action alert. Maybe it's doing a khutbah. Maybe it's talking to your friends or your family or your students about what's happening and what they can do to help. The major thing is to stand up for justice and fairness, which all of us have a role to do every day in our lives. And I really want to emphasize this. I think oftentimes we think, the only way we can solve these problems is with really advanced political lobbying and, the best, most influential people who can whisper in the ear of the prime minister. And obviously, alhamdulillah, we always try to work towards those kinds of things. Yeah. Never forget the value of when you go out onto a street and you pick up, a thing that could hurt, a piece of glass that could harm someone. Never forget the value of shoveling your neighbor's driveway. I agree 100%. The long-term ramification, or, feeding the poor. These things that our religion teaches us, that our culture teaches us. 100% agree. These values, this is your number one way of showing that you're a good neighbor, because this is what we're taught. You care about them, right? You're part of the society, basically. Yes. No, perfect. Thank you so much. I have seen people have a lot of immigration issues, right? Sometimes they got stuck at the airport, right? And they are being bothered by airport authority. I don't know the scenario, but anything could happen, right, with someone. So Can they call you call you guys for help? You guys can help them?
So generally, if you're going through something and you feel like there's any like racist or Islamophobic overtones, you give us a call. That's like a general way to. We don't generally do like spousal sponsorships or pregnancy applications that don't touch or involve issues of Islamophobia, just because our resources are so limited. We just keep to those. But for example, just recently, we were applying for intervener status at the Federal Court of Appeal in relation to a matter around border safety and security. And right now, we're in litigation with the Canadian Border Services Agency over their search of a Muslim academic.
Right. No, that's very good. So they can call you from the airport if they see that something going against them based on their religion, right? Basically.
Absolutely.
The one thing that I forgot to ask you, are you in touch with the Imam Bargahs also, besides the mosque? I just want to make sure this community is also involved with you guys?
Yes. We work very closely with many, many communities, Shia community, Ismaili community, many, many communities.
MashaAllah.
Whether you're Brelvi or whether you're Salafi, whatever.
Anyone. That's very good.
Whatever your creed is, we're here to work with you.
Perfect. So, Mustafa, I think there's a time for a break. So we will take a quick break and then we'll be back. Guys, keep watching Awareness with Fahad.
एक छोटी सी सोशल गैदरिंग भी घातक कोविड-19 वायरस को फैला सकती है, किसी ऐसे को जिससे आप प्यार करते हैं। जब तक हम सभी को वैक्सीन नहीं मिल जाती, तब तक घर पर रहें, जाने बचाएं।
GTA का सबसे ज्यादा देखा जाने वाला टीवी चैनल आवाज एंटरटेनमेंट के साथ मिलकर बनाए आपके बिजनेस को और भी बेहतर। हम आपके कंपनी या बिजनेस को एक अनोखे अंदाज में पेश करेंगे, जिससे आपके बिजनेस में और ज्यादा इजाफा होगा। हमारे फेसबुक, यूट्यूब और वेबसाइट को रोजाना लाखों लोग देखते हैं। हमारे पास हर किसी के एडवर्टाइजमेंट की जरूरत के हिसाब से पैकेज अवेलेबल हैं। आज ही 416-786-9809 पर कॉल करें और अपना एडवर्टाइजमेंट बुक कराएं। आवाज एंटरटेनमेंट, आवाज आपकी, चैनल हमारा, जुड़िए हमसे। आवाज एंटरटेनमेंट कनाडा का सबसे ज्यादा देखा जाने वाला उर्दू हिंदी टीवी चैनल अब दस्तयाब है सैटेलाइट और केबल पर। इंडिया, पाकिस्तान, सऊदी अरब, यूनाइटेड अरब इमिरात, ऑस्ट्रेलिया, न्यूजीलैंड, यूनाइटेड किंगडम और कई सारे मुमालिकों में दस्तयाब। दुनिया के कोने कोने में पहुंचेगी आपकी आवाज, सिर्फ और सिर्फ आवाज एंटरटेनमेंट के साथ।
Welcome back, guys. You are watching Awareness with Fahad and we have our guest Mustafa Farooq. So before going on a break, we were talking about if somebody had issue with the immigration authority at the airport. So Mustafa, there's one more thing that I want to know about is the domestic extremist ideology, right? How we can deal effectively with that?
We have to think about what we mean. So my book, I'll confess, I wrote a book around dealing with the questions of CVE, countering violence extremism, as a government policy, which I did when I was a visiting scholar at Osgoode Hall Law School. Now, I think that it's important that we as a community are answering this question ourselves. So we as a community can think about what it means in the Quran when it says, don't be extreme in your religion. Now, what that definition of extremism means, what does it mean to be extreme? That is a question that I think we as a community need to continue to think about, to understand. And what I think we also need to do as a community is to make it clear that that's a discussion that we as a community have to have. That's not something that law enforcement or the government sets for us to help us determine what is or isn't an extreme perspective. And the reason I say that is because when governments try to tell us what is or isn't extreme, it doesn't always make sense. I can tell you that the NYPD used to have a manual that the RCMP somewhat drew from that said things like growing a beard wasn't a sign of potential growing extremism. Going to the masjid more often could be a sign of potentially growing extremism. Disagreeing with U.S. foreign policy could sometimes be a sign of growing extremism. So I think question of how we deal with understanding this question. While, of course, we reject any form of terrorism, any form of violence, how we define the extreme, how we define what is unacceptable in our religious tradition has to be determined inside our religious tradition, not externally.
So based on what you're saying, I think there's a communication gap that need to be fulfilled, right?
Absolutely.
Right. From the department, that is looking after the extremist views, and you guys can sit together and come up some sort of a mapping, right? That is going to be understandable between both parties, right? What they consider an extremism, right? So I think there is a communication need to happen seriously. I mean, and I think from that perspective also our local imams, they have to play a big role in that too. What they are communicating and what sort of a message they are getting across, basically, right, in their khutbahs, basically. Do you agree on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that we all have a role to play in thinking about what kind of society do we want to live in.
Yeah.
How do we want to conduct ourselves? How do we want to comport ourselves? These are critical discussions that we need to have together.
Perfect. What about is there any upcoming seminar you guys are doing from NCCM that you would like people to participate? I want also viewer to participate so people know more about you, what sort of service you guys provide. So is there any upcoming seminar, or you have some sort of YouTube videos where they can watch it and learn?
Yeah, so we do have a YouTube channel we do have a YouTube channel. If you just type in NCCM, or if you go to our website, you'll see our YouTube channel. You can go there. There's videos there on what to do if CSIS knocks at your door, what to do if you are discriminated against at work. There's videos that are on there to help you guide your way through. I also want to say that, let's say right now, if you have a school, or if you're at your kids are at a school and you feel that school would benefit from an anti-Islamophobia training session, or let's say if you're at your workplace and you feel like your workplace would benefit from an anti-Islamophobia training session, give us a call. We'll be there to support you.
Perfect. There's a heated discussion going on for the vaccine, right? Suppose there's a vaccine, the government is telling you to take it, but that vaccine, I'm just making a use case, okay? This is not like true, right? Suppose there's a pork in that used in that vaccine, right? Or because of some other issues, can you say no to the vaccine based on the Charter of Rights and Freedom Act?
So right now, the vaccine is not mandatory. If it would ever become mandatory, I would imagine there would be immediate charter challenges. So people would challenge that. Whether you should do that or not is a separate question. I will say that there is a task force called the Canadian Muslim COVID-19 Task Force that has a lot of imams and others who are advising people, and I believe that their current advice is to take the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, again, it's up to each and every person to do their diligence and to learn and investigate and to understand what the best thing is to do.
No, that's good to know. So in the end, do you want to give any message to the viewers who's listening to our show? The another thing is, how can they donate to your organization? And will they get the tax receipt or something? Can you please tell us, my viewers, about it? Especially in the end, what key message do you want to deliver? Before we basically close this program.
Sure. So I would say the three key things that I want you to take away from this is, number one, get involved. Every single person can get involved. Go to our website, nccm.ca. Get involved, volunteer, whether you're volunteering 1 minute of your time or whether you're volunteering a few hours of your time every week. We need all the help we can get to solve this problem in front of us, to make a more just society. The second thing, we educate yourself. Come on, follow our work on social media. You'll hear and learn about things you probably that might not even be in the news, but that are critical things for us to be paying attention to. The third thing that we need your help for is your donations. Go to www.nccm.ca, click on donate. If you can sign up for a monthly membership, whether that's $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, $100 a month, the small but consistent deed it makes our work so much more manageable and achievable. And we need your help right now as we're fighting Bill 21. We need your help right now as we are taking on governments, as we're taking on Islamophobes, as we're taking on so many actors and institutions. This is work that's free. It's not work that's cheap. I mean, it's free for the service providers, but it's not free in the sense of us having to employ lawyers and policy advocates and others. And I mean, last but certainly not least, in terms of getting a tax receipt, unfortunately, because we are an advocacy organization, we don't have charitable status. So you will not be able to get a tax receipt. But sometimes you could write it off, for example, as professional enhancement or other things. Consult your own accountant about that. But again, the small donation per month that you give to us goes a long, long way to protecting you and your livelihoods. That would be what I would urge you to do. Also, according to the Canadian Council of Imams, we are zakat eligible. So if you do have, and you're looking in this Ramadan where you're going to donate your zakat, know that you could donate if you accept the opinion of the Canadian Council of Imams to NCCM. And last but certainly not least, we need your dua, we need your nasiha, we need your mashra. I'm usually very available, and so are most members of my team. You can always go on www.nccm.ca, send us a message. You can go on Facebook and send us a message, Twitter and send us a message. You can call Fahad Bhai and ask him to drop us a line. We're always here to take your thought, take your.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mustafa, for this great message and the work you guys are doing seriously for the community and as a whole. I mean, amazing. I'm really impressed with your organization and the work you guys are doing for us. Guys, we are going towards the end of our show. I'm pretty sure you guys have learned from the useful information Mustafa has shared with us. And again, my objective for the program is to provide awareness and only awareness to ensure that what you have to do in scenarios like if somebody is giving you comment for Islamophobia, right? So and I know anybody can face, you never know, tomorrow anybody has to face this, right? So you have to know what you can do about it and where to call and how to act accordingly. So, and in the end, I would highly urge my viewers to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Awaz Entertainment. And inshallah, I will come again with a new topic. So guys, keep watching Awareness with Fahad. Thank you.